Your child's first credit card trap doesn't start at 18, it starts at 7. And if you're a parent right now, you've probably already planted the seed without knowing it. Think about the last time your kid wanted something at the store, a toy, a candy bar, something small. And you said, I don't have cash, but I'll get it on my card. You didn't think twice about it, but your child did. Because in that moment, they learned something that will shape the next 15 years of their financial life. They learned that money isn't real, that wanting something and having something are the same thing, that there's no gap between desire and possession, you just tap and it appears. This is the first crack in the foundation, and it happens years before any bank ever sends them a credit card offer. Here's what almost nobody talks about. The credit card industry doesn't wait until your child turns 18 to start shaping how they think about debt. They don't need to send a single piece of mail because you, the parent, are already doing the conditioning for them. Every tap, every swipe, every don't worry, I'll pay it off later. Your child is building a mental model of money, one invisible transaction at a time. And that model has a name in psychology. It's called the pain of paying. Studies on consumer behavior have shown again and again that physical cash creates a real, measurable discomfort when we spend it. You feel it leave your hand. But a card, a tap, an app, the pain disappears. And when the pain disappears, the brakes disappear with it. Now here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. Children are watching this transaction thousands of times before they're even old enough to open a bank account. By the time they're 7 or 8, they've already absorbed the core belief that spending has no consequence, no friction, no wall standing between I want it and I have it. That belief doesn't stay dormant, it waits. It waits for the day your child gets their first debit card, their first buy now pay later app, their first real credit card in college, and it activates immediately because the groundwork was laid over a decade earlier at your kitchen table, at the grocery store checkout line, in the back seat of your car. This is not a story about blaming parents. This is a story about awareness, because once you see this pattern, you cannot unsee it. And more importantly, once you understand exactly how this trap is built, brick by brick, you can start dismantling it before your child ever touches a real credit card. Because the goal isn't to scare you. The goal is to hand you the blueprint your own parents never had. So your child grows up seeing money exactly as it is, not as a magic trick that never runs out. So let's go back to that moment at the checkout counter, the tap, the swipe. What's actually happening in your child's brain in that split second? Developmental psychologists have a term for what children under a certain age genuinely cannot do. It's called deferred abstraction. Cash is concrete. A $5 bill is a $5 bill. You can hold it, count it, watch it disappear from your hand into someone else's. But a card is nothing. It's a piece of plastic that produces infinite yes. Your child cannot see the invisible number decreasing in a bank account somewhere. All they see is parent touches card, parent gets item. Every single time, no exceptions, no visible limit. This is where the first false belief gets installed. Not through a lecture, not through a lesson, through repetition. And repetition, especially in early childhood, is one of the most powerful teachers that exists. More powerful, often, than anything you could ever sit your child down and explain in words. Now let's fast forward. Your child turns 13, 14, 15, they get a phone. And on that phone, they discover something that feels like a natural extension of everything they've already learned. Buy now, pay later apps. Services that let you split a purchase into 4 easy payments. No credit check, no hard questions. Just tap, confirm, and the item is yours today, while the actual cost gets quietly spread out over the coming weeks. To a teenager who has spent their entire childhood watching money behave like an invisible, painless, limitless resource, this doesn't feel like debt. It feels normal. It feels like exactly how the world has always worked. And here's the part that should really concern you. These companies know this. Financial technology firms have spent enormous resources studying exactly how younger consumers behave, and one consistent finding shows up over and over. The less friction there is between wanting something and getting it, the more likely someone is to spend beyond what they can actually afford. That's not an accident. That's the business model. Reduce the pain of paying to nearly zero, and spending goes up. It's the same principle your child absorbed at age 7, just wearing a different outfit now, an app instead of a store, a phone instead of a wallet. By the time your child is handed their first real credit card, usually somewhere around 18 to 21, they are not starting from zero. They are starting from over a decade of conditioning that says money has no edges, no ceiling, no moment where it simply runs out. And a credit card, unlike a debit card, actually confirms that belief for the first time in a very real, very dangerous way. Because now, for the first time, they truly can spend money they do not have. The trap isn't the credit card itself. The credit card is just the final door. The trap was built years earlier, one invisible tap at a time. So if the trap is built through invisible transactions, what does the opposite look like? What does it actually look like to raise a child who understands money has edges? There's a well-known experiment in psychology that gets referenced constantly in conversations about self-control, usually associated with delayed gratification in young children. The idea of offering a child one small reward now, or a larger reward if they can wait. But there's a piece of that research that often gets left out of the popular retelling. The children who were best able to wait weren't necessarily the ones with more willpower. They were the ones who had developed strategies, mental tools, for making the wait tolerable. In other words, the skill of patience isn't something a child is simply born with. It's something that gets built through practice, through repetition, through small moments where an adult lets the discomfort of waiting actually happen instead of erasing it. This is the exact opposite of what happens at that checkout counter with the tap of a card. And it points to the real solution here. Not shielding your child from money entirely, but deliberately reintroducing the very friction that cards and apps have quietly removed. Here's what that looks like in practice. It starts with cash, physically, in your child's hands as early as possible. Not because cash is morally superior, but because it recreates that essential feeling, the pain of paying, that teaches a child's brain, on a level far deeper than any lecture, that money is finite. When a child holds a $10 bill, watches it get handed over, and sees it not come back, something registers, a gap, a boundary, a cost. It also means narrating your own transactions out loud, even the invisible ones. When you tap your card at the store, say it. This shirt costs $32. That's coming out of the money I earned this week working. It sounds small. It sounds almost silly. But you are doing out loud exactly what the card itself refuses to do. You are making the invisible visible again. You are restoring the connection between effort, earning, and spending that a tap severs completely. And then there's the single most important shift of all, giving your child a real tangible experience of their own limited resource on a completely age-appropriate scale, a set allowance, a clear amount, and then, and this is the part most parents get wrong, actually letting them run out, not rescuing them the moment they overspend on something impulsive, letting the discomfort of "I don't have enough" actually land in a safe, low-stakes environment while the consequences are still small enough to survive. Because if your child's first encounter with running out of money happens at age 19, with a $5,000 credit card balance and real interest piling up, that lesson arrives far too late, at far too high a cost. The goal is simple, even if it sounds counterintuitive. Let your child feel poor in small controlled doses while they're young, so they never have to feel it in the terrifying, uncontrolled way that so many adults do. So let's bring this all the way back to where we started. Your child's first credit card trap doesn't begin at 18. It begins the moment they watch money behave like magic, infinite, invisible, painless. And by now, you understand exactly why that matters and exactly what to do about it. But here's the deeper truth underneath everything we've covered today. This isn't really a story about credit cards. It's a story about the gap between wanting and having, and whether your child grows up believing that gap exists or believing it doesn't. Every healthy financial habit an adult has, whether it's saving consistently, resisting impulse purchases, or living within their means, comes down to one single skill: tolerating that gap. Sitting in the discomfort of not yet instead of collapsing it instantly into right now. And the uncomfortable reality is this: most adults struggling with debt today were never taught to tolerate that gap. Not because their parents didn't love them, but because nobody realized the lesson needed to be taught deliberately, starting shockingly early, long before any bank ever entered the picture. The credit card companies aren't the villain of this story in the way you might expect. They're simply the final beneficiaries of a gap in financial education that starts at your own kitchen table. So what do you actually do with this, starting today? You don't need a complicated system. You don't need spreadsheets or financial textbooks for a 7-year-old. You need 3 small shifts. Let cash pass through your child's hands regularly, not just your card. Say you're spending out loud every single time so the invisible becomes visible again. And let your child run out of their own money sometimes in small, safe, forgivable amounts. So the feeling of not enough becomes familiar long before the stakes are real. Because here's the honest truth about parenting and money: you cannot protect your child from ever running out. You can only choose when they learn what that feels like. Now, at age 7, over a $5 toy with you standing right beside them. Or later, at 19, alone, over a credit card statement with their name on it and interest already accruing. The trap was never really about credit cards. It was about a gap your child either learns to sit inside or learns to erase. And that lesson doesn't start in a bank. It starts with you today, the next time you reach for your wallet in front of them.